Just waiting for people to turn up. Okay. Hello. While we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? Just asking people where you're from. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. There's a Vancouver in the United States too. It's in Washington. Okay. Actually, I thought the other Vancouver was a really tiny city. It's actually quite big. I was surprised at that. Okay, so where are you from? Just waiting for everyone to turn up. So I'm just making small talk while I'm waiting. LA Pine, La Pine, Oregon. Never heard of that. La Pine, that sounds like French. Oregon. Been to Oregon a few times, but never heard of La Pine. So, is it a small town? Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. I'm not usually on at this time, but I don't have a chance to do it later, so. So where are you from? South of Bend. I don't even know where Bend is. I'm going to look it up now. Oh, over there. Oh, more inland. Oh, I see. Okay. Because I've been to Eugene and I've done the coast and just the interior road there, but I haven't gone that far in. I see. Okay. Okay, well, let's just get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you look in the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Coaching's, I'm really busy right now, but there is a wait list for that, but I should be able to get to that tonight and at least answer some more emails about that. Anyway, and I've got a sale going right now, a Father's Day sale, 10% off all just my courses, not my coaching. And it ends 7 a.m. Monday morning. That's my time, which is California, Vancouver time. So you might want to check that out. Anyway, so let's get going. Also, it's really funny because I get when I'm walking around my own city in Vancouver, a lot of people are looking at me funny because I know they probably either, this is what I'm thinking, this is how nuts I am. I think they either recognize me from my online presence or I've got a booger hanging out of my nose. So if you do see me in public, like someone today came up to me and said, "Oh, are you from, online?" I said, "Yeah." Anyway, but I'd rather, if you don't say hi to me and you're looking at me, I'm assuming I've got like a booger hanging out of my nose, just to let you know. Now, come on, you think stuff like that too, right? I'm not the only one who thinks stuff like that. Okay, so New Zealand. Hi, New Zealand. We used to ski. I think you've been here before, I think. Jessica, Diana. We used to ski in Queenstown when we lived in Australia. We were there for about 20 years in Australia. And yeah, we used to ski in Queenstown. Beautiful down there. That's the South Island for anyone who's doesn't know Queenstown. It's the South Island of New Zealand. There's 2 islands. So anyway, okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. As I said, I've got, from Germany. Excellent. That's on YouTube. Thank you. I've got a sale running right now just on my courses, 10% off for Father's Day. You kind of knew that was coming because I had one on Mother's Day too. So, but anyway, so that's 10%. It ends 7 a.m. Monday morning, which is my time, Vancouver time. Anyway, let's get going with your parenting questions. That's what I'm here for, to answer your questions. Most questions tend to be about toddlers. I do specialize in teenagers and crisis work, but most of the questions I get on here are about toddlers. And, it's always about discipline, but that's a very tiny part about what this is all about. I teach leadership, and leadership is more about connecting with your kids and bonding with them and guiding them into making good choices. So it's not really about discipline. It is, but it's, that's what people want to know about. So that's why if you're watching this, it's all, how do I discipline my toddler? But that's not really what I'm all about. It's a part of it, for sure. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions. I'm on here at a weird time, and I'm very aware of that. It's the only time I had to do this today. Okay. Now, how to handle 2-year-old who whines while asking for something? Do you ignore the question until he asks it? Well, I would say I would repeat it, but like a nicer way. Like, I want this. I'd say, may I please have this? And then if he repeats it nicely, then I might give it to him. Only if you want him to have it. Otherwise, just say no. Like, only get him to say it politely if the answer is going to be yes. Sometimes I don't do it that way, but with a 2-year-old, I do, because they, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, if they're older, I would have them ask politely anyway. But not with a 2-year-old. So in other words, when he stops whining and he asks politely, you want to reward that. But as they get older, you just want to stop the whining more. Okay, so. Okay, you said you have a few questions. Okay, let's go. How to address an almost 4-year-old who says no to everything, but will usually do what is asked. So it doesn't matter if they say no, so long as they do what's asked of them. That's sort of their last stand. They're just throwing that in there, hoping that it's just sort of a bravado thing generally. I wouldn't worry too much about that. If they're following through and doing the right thing anyway, then does it really matter? That's in the attitude department. That usually takes care of itself. Once you're a leader, the attitude sort of takes care of itself organically. Lots of times people will message me and they'll say, can I put down, listen to me the first time? Someone actually wrote that. I think it was on the YouTube live last night. And they said, can we put down on the behavior board, the rule for the kids is listen to me the first time? And I said, no. I said, that's in the attitude department. Plus what you're saying is treat me like a leader, respect me. You do not demand respect. You've got to work for it. You've got to earn it. You got to command it, not demand it. So yeah, that's too big of an ask. It's like saying you respect me even though I haven't earned it yet. That's sort of what that's saying. It doesn't work that way. Why did I start talking about that? I feel like I went off on a tangent. I do that. Okay. So just mention again, I've got a sale going on my courses, not my coaching, but my courses for Father's Day. It's Father's Day on Sunday. Here, I know in different places around the world, no. I know in Australia, when I moved there, Father's Day is very different. I think it's in September. And whereas here in North America, it's very close to Mother's Day. What do you say when a 3-year-old says things like, I am going to put you in jail? I would just say, whatever. Yeah, don't get pulled into that stuff. That's in that manipulation department. And they usually only say stuff like that when they're not getting their own way. I would just go, whatever. Yeah, don't respond to that. Don't respond to the manipulation or it will continue because it means they're winning. It means it bothers you. Yeah, perfect your whatever. It goes something like this, whatever, and then just walk away. What about refusing to say sorry? I'm from the South, so the respect thing is big. And while I understand it's earned, most people in our lives aren't as receptive. So they say, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I don't know how old they are. Are you talking about a 2-year-old or an 8-year-old? Or yeah, I can't really answer that. Depends on the age. Can a child get traumatized from being yelled at? Oh, I don't really want to answer that because so many people yell. You know why I kind of think they do? It affects them when they're adults. They tend to, confrontation isn't as difficult for them because they grew up with it. It's almost a comfort zone. I'll tell you something interesting. I was never yelled at, neither were my kids. And I can remember the first time anyone ever really yelled at me. I was 26 and it was someone, I found out later she had bipolar. And I didn't really know her that well. She was a friend of a friend. We'd gone out together somewhere, just the two of us. And she just yelled at me for like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't even really say much. It was the weirdest thing. So I had driven to this place we'd gone to. I grabbed my purse, stood up, and walked out, and drove away and left her there. she was very apologetic later, but I never went out with her again. So because I'm so sensitive to it, because I've never been yelled at. So that kind of says to me that it must do some damage. You know what I mean? Like the fact that that was just so weird to me. I wouldn't have accepted that. Whereas someone who'd been grown up being yelled at probably wouldn't have thought that was as huge of a deal as I did. I just wasn't used to being disrespected like that. I just thought it was bizarre. So yeah, never went out with her again. And someone said to me on here once, it was interesting. I told that story and they said, well, you're not very forgiving because she forgave. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Like, why on earth would I want that in my life? You know, like I value myself too much to put up with stuff like that. I thought that was funny. You know, what are you willing to put up with? Okay, I'm very curious as to know your thoughts on bribery to get your toddler to do something. For instance, my 3.5-year-old haircuts. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, for a haircut, that's not too bad. Yeah, I would probably do that with a haircut because it's once in a blue moon. But I wouldn't bribe them for them to. What would be a good example of that? I wouldn't bribe them with day-to-day stuff. But yeah, I would bribe them for a haircut. Yeah, I would. Because some kids, it really scares them. So you got to kind of up your game here and really make it worth their while. So yeah, I would with a haircut. Yeah, because it's just once in a blue moon. Yeah, that's her disease, not on her though. That's right. But I'm not a therapist. I'm not her doctor. That's right. Exactly. It is her disease. You're absolutely right. Couldn't agree more. It's like some people are psychopaths and murderers. That's their disease, but I don't want them in my life. No, thank you. Same thing. Tips on having large age gaps. Well, 10 years. My brother and I were like 16 years apart, so we never grew up together. So it's sort of like he was an only child, then I was an only child. And my kids are 5 years apart. They say 7 is the cutoff. If you're 7 or more years apart, you don't even sort of identify as siblings. That's what I've heard. It doesn't mean that you don't get along or anything. It just means that you kind of grow up an only child. That's what I heard. But yeah, and my kids are 5. They definitely grew up with siblings because they were 5 years apart. I do answer questions on YouTube, but I don't get to all the questions. I get a lot of questions, so I go back and forth. Also, I pick and choose. If it's a lot of repetition, I'll try and find something different ages. Like if anyone throws a teenage question in here, I usually dive on it because that's my specialty is teenagers, and it's usually toddler questions on here, so I like to mix it up. So yeah. Oh, thanks. Like Sonia Soyak. Someone answered that for me. By the way, if you see me out in public here in Vancouver, like just today, someone came up to me and I get looked at quite often and I can tell. Now, here's where my head goes. If someone's looking at me funny, you know what that's like. They just stare at you. So I know that now one of two things goes through my mind. Either they recognize me for my online presence or I got a booger hanging out of my nostril. So if you do see me in public, please come up and say hi. Otherwise, I'm thinking I got a booger hanging out of my nose. And you know you're the same. We all think the same way. It's just I voice it because I have no filtering system. But anyway, yeah, that's what's going through my mind. You're staring at me. It's either this or you recognize me. So anyway, I've been watching your videos and find them very helpful. I have a 3-year-old who's been benefiting from your techniques. Excellent. Good for you. I just give you the information. You're the ones who do the work. So pat yourself on the back. If you're getting results, that's on you. So good for you. I just want to say thank you for the advice you give. I recommend your stuff to so many mom friends. Thanks very much for your support. I know word of mouth is a huge part of my business too, especially with coaching. Because if someone hires me at a school or something, oftentimes word gets out that, hey, look at that. We want to get that respect too. So word of mouth is it's always very appreciated. And that's sort of the best, recommendation you can get is word of mouth. 4 years old, how to help stop screaming. We live in an apartment and she screamed for over an hour to the point the police were called. That's a tricky one because I don't know why she's screaming, for one thing, so I can't really answer that effectively. But anyway, check out my boot camp course. I've got a sale going right now on all my courses, not coaching, just all my courses. So check out the boot camp course. They don't tend to scream or act out when you're a leader. And the boot camp course is all about you and your leadership. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. So you might want to check that out. Okay, someone said this may be out of your scope. This is on YouTube. This may be out of your scope. I don't know. But how would you answer a 3-year-old boy who asks where his daddy and his dad is no longer seeing him? Yeah, that's not out of my scope. I deal with a lot of trauma and stuff like that. I deal with crisis work. So anyway, I would just say to him, your daddy loves you very much, but right now he can't be a daddy right now. And I would sort of explain it like he loves you, but he can't be a daddy right now. He's just not able to. And then come up with something. I don't know what's going on. Is he ever going to see him? Or, it's kind of difficult. But always say he loves you, but he's got stuff he's dealing with or whatever. He's only 3 years old, but just say he loves you. Make sure that's very clear. His dad's a DOU. Yeah, I wouldn't tell him that, what his dad is, but yeah, just make sure you say he loves you. But not everybody can be a parent. Say some people just aren't ready to be a dad or a mom. It's difficult. There's no easy way to get around that. Okay. Someone said, my oldest never had terrible twos, so I never dealt with it before, really. Are you saying you've got one now? Trying to go back a bit and see, but I don't see. Yeah, not ever. I mean, terrible twos. My daughter was the easiest kid in the world. Never had a tantrum, nothing. My son was easy too, I would say, but he did have tantrums. He didn't have a ton of them, but he did have them. They're either wired for them or they're not. They're either going to have them or they're not. Like I never had one. And my daughter never did. I can remember when I was little, I remember seeing other kids having tantrums. And I remember looking at them thinking, what are you doing? I remember thinking, how embarrassing. And my daughter, I saw that exact same look. Whenever she saw a kid having a tantrum, she'd go like this, like, what are you doing? Like, it's so weird. And, but my son would just let it fly. Could have cared less. They're just either wired for them or they're not. Yeah, okay. So with the dad being out of the picture, just talk about how loved he is by his dad. But his dad just isn't able to be a dad right now. And you Google all those questions or find an answer that suits you. But make sure that I would definitely say your dad loves you. Yeah. What are your thoughts on lying? We have a 4-year-old little girl will lie just tricking and says she's just tricking us. Say, well, that's a lie. Don't fall into that. And I was just kidding. It was just tricking. Say, okay, that's fine. But here's the consequence for lying. I would just say it like that. Get the behavior board. It's completely free and put down no lying. Tricking and just kidding. I didn't mean it. That's okay, sweetie. Anyway, the consequence for lying is this. Do not get redirected by them. Do not let them control you. That's all she's trying to do. It must have worked in the past because for her to say that means that it's worked in the past. It's a tell. Okay. Oops. What time is it? I have an 11-year-old boy who often wakes up in the middle of the night to sneak sugary foods. Oh, geez. When we catch him, we discipline him, but we often don't. How to proceed? What kind of guy? Why is he getting up in the middle of the night to have sugary foods? Also, why do you have sugary foods around if he's prone to doing that? I'm not saying you have to be radical like me, but we never had junk food in the house. So, but if that's a problem, I would not have sugary foods in the house, period. That's an easy fix. It's like saying if you had a teenager who keeps getting up in the middle of the night to drink your alcohol, I'd get rid of the alcohol. There's other things we do too, but yeah, I'd get rid of the sugary foods. They tend to get and if you do feed kids sugary stuff, I mean, I'm kind of biased towards this stuff because I never had any of that around, but they do tend to get a taste for it. And yeah. Anyway, I got to get going. I have to move over to Instagram because I got a client in a half an hour and I've still got to go to Instagram and TikTok. So anyway, I got a sale running on my courses right now. If you're interested, not coaching, just my courses, it's going until Monday morning, my time. Anyway, look it up in the link above if you're interested. Also in the link, you'll see my free behavior board, all my courses, and you can look into coaching. There's a wait list for coaching, but I will get to you eventually. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'm heading over to Instagram now if you want to join me over there. Bye now. Okay. Is this video going to be posted so I can go back? Yeah, on YouTube, that's where all of my lives are saved. This is a live, obviously. So all my lives are saved on YouTube. And on Facebook, my Facebook Live, which I just finished, is saved for 30 days on Facebook. Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Instagram, everyone turns up fast in a big clump. It's bizarre. It's the only place it does that. So you usually get like 150 within 10 seconds. It's bizarre. Okay. At what age can you start teaching no? Well, you can start teaching it when they're still a baby, but when are they going to start to listen to it? Yeah, that's what you want to know. So their bad behavior that you deem bad behavior, they don't act out as a result of not understanding right from wrong. They act out because they have no impulse control when they're toddlers, okay? At the age of 3, you can start using my behavior board. But under that, you use consistent corrective actions, not words, just actions. And you can start with the word no, but it just sort of starts the ball rolling. So you just have an action to prevent that behavior or stop it, or you take fun away from them or them away from fun. But it's got to be fast. They got to connect the dots, right? So they will learn through repetition, but it won't take 20 times. It's probably more like 50. It's more like a knee-jerk learning kind of a reaction. It's not like stopping and thinking before they act. They just sort of don't do it again because so many times you've gone in and corrected with this consistent corrective action. I don't feel like that made any sense. It did to me. Anyway, okay, let's get going here. You said you're awesome. Oh, thank you for that. I'm a teacher and have a toddler. Sometimes forget she's a toddler, pre-K. I think that the biggest problem that parents have with raising toddlers and teens, which are notoriously the 2 most challenging ages, toddlers being physical, teens being emotional, is that you expect too much or you're not realistic about where they're at. And toddlers are all feet, no brains. Okay, they're cute as a button, but they're just not there yet, right? They're just forming. And then teenagers, they're trying to exercise their own independence and they're going to make some mistakes. You've got to respect that. I'm going to read my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. They're my favorite age, by the way. Okay. These are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. Number 2 is, I didn't even finish explaining that. So you listen, understand, and show empathy. That means that you don't gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Say, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Give and take, building reciprocity, building respect, right? You got to give respect to get it. And number 3, with the teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff if you even need it. And if they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? And then laugh it off. Okay, that's teenagers. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you look at the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. That's 5 weeks for you to learn how to be a leader, 3 to 12 years old. All my courses right now, my Father's Day special is running. It's 10% off. The coupon code, it's all in the link above. But anyway, it's Father's Day 10. Why is it Father's Day 10? My daughter does all this. It's not the 10th. Father's Day 10. What does that mean? Must be obvious, but I just don't get it. Okay, Father's Day 10. Anyway, that's the coupon code. My daughter does all that stuff. And then you can look into coaching. Coaching is full right now, but by the end of the day, I think I might have space for someone else. Anyway, what was I going to say about coaching? Oh yeah, there is a wait list, so I'll get to eventually. Okay. So let's go. How much did you learn about yourself from parenting? Probably learn more about myself through working with kids than raising my own kids, because my own kids were pretty easy because I got respect, right? But working with damaged, troubled teenagers taught me more about myself probably than anyone else ever had. Taught me that I actually have patience going out the wazoo, but only for kids. I don't have it for adults, because kids, I feel very maternal and protective towards them. So it's different, but turns out I have way more patience and tolerance than I ever thought I did. Yeah, plus I'm pretty empathetic and understanding. So I always thought I was, especially with kids. But yeah, it was a whole other level. And yeah, it opens your mind too. And I would say my son probably taught me a lot about music and opening your mind to different genres and stuff like that, because I wanted to enter his world. We didn't have a lot in common. He was into heavy metal music and video games and computer games and stuff. I'm not into either one of those, but I wanted to be close to my son. So I made sure that, I learned about that stuff. And then he got me into heavy metal music. And now even at the gym, I'm listening to Slipknot, NWA, stuff. If I hadn't had a son who was into that, I never would have liked that. But I like all sorts of genres. I also have Michael Bublé on there, so don't even try and figure me out. So 1 minute I'm listening to a snappy tune, the next is the headbang, and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Oops, sorry, I'm just scrolling ahead because people come and go. So I want to make sure you're here when I answer your question. Just a reminder, I've got a sale going right now on my courses, not my coaching, but my courses. So it's my Father's Day sale. And like I said, I don't know why my daughter's put down the coupon code as Father's Day 10. What does that 10 mean? Stuff like that. I like to know what. I'll ask her later if I remember. Anyway, she'll hear this. She does all my videos. So anyway, let me see here. How to teach a 6-year-old self-control, keeping his hands to himself. Yeah, I would just say respect other people's boundaries and put it on the board. He's old enough to understand this. Say respect people's physical boundaries. If he doesn't, there's a consequence. Do you ever work with gifted children? My son was labeled gifted, and I don't treat them any different from anyone else. He was no more special than other kids. He just was really good at figuring stuff out, right? Don't label them gifted as if they're more special. Don't do that. That's a huge mistake. Anyway, but yeah, I've worked with lots of kids who were really very clever. Had a couple recently. Where did I write that down? Oh, this was funny. This was just a couple days ago. Yeah, the little boy's 4.5 years old. And the mom had set a timer, and she left the room. When she came back, she noticed that the timer wasn't going quite as quickly as it should. He'd manipulated it just enough that it wasn't too obvious he'd done it. I would consider that gifted. I thought that was 4.5, pretty good. He didn't just do it like too much. He just did it enough so that maybe the mom wouldn't notice. She noticed. Isn't that hilarious? Kids are funny. I believe the 10 is, right. Thanks for that. Yeah. Good one. Father's Day 10% off. I can't think sideways. I have no ability to think sideways. You know those, what are they? They're like jokes. You got to figure it out, and it's always something sideways. I have no ability to go there. I'm a straight thinker. I say what I'm thinking. Everything flies out. I can't think sideways. So that 10 to me didn't have anything to do with 10%. I can't think that way. Isn't that interesting? So some people are gifted, other people are challenged. Riddles. That's it. I can't do riddles. I mean, I literally shut down. I can't go there. Like there's 3 people in the room, but 2 leave and then there's 2 left. How does that, stuff like that? Oh, my brain explodes. Okay. 4-year-old not listening, should consequence be related to what they're playing with? Well, it depends on what you're asking them. Like if they're not, that's a tough one, because I don't know if you're a leader or if you're just being annoying. Do you know what I mean? Are they tuning you out because you're just annoying? Or when you say something, does it matter? Like if I said to my kids, oh, come on, kids, we're heading out now in 5 minutes, put your stuff away. That would matter. They would never have tuned that out. But if I was just singing away or, la, 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 like whatever, I was goofy, so they would have tuned me out. So I don't know exactly what you're on about. Do you nag? If you nag, they do tend to tune you out. But it is a bit of a tell. It means that they don't respect you. Check out my boot camp course. It might be a good fit for you. It's 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you getting your leadership sorted out. And they do listen to you. Toddler, 3 years old, only happy when center of attention. I don't quite understand that question. Like, what are they doing? If they're only happy, it's okay that they're not happy just because they're not the center of attention. Are they misbehaving? Like, I don't quite know what you mean by that. Okay, for the behavior board, listening is too bright. Yeah, you don't never put listening. That's in the attitude department. It's a tell. It means they don't respect you. What you're saying is you're demanding respect. You don't do that. If you don't listen to me like the first second, no, you're never going to get respect by doing that. That's never going to work ever in a million years. No, you can't put that down. You got to earn their respect and then they will listen. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. I worked my butt off when I was working with kids. I earned it. I worked for that respect. I didn't just write it down and tell them, here's the rule, you have to respect me. And that's what you're saying. So no, don't put that down. Never going to work. Four and a half year old rarely plays alone, always enjoys it more when I'm involved. Is that normal? You said only enjoys it more. You don't have to juggle for them and make sure every moment is magic, okay? They're okay if they're not as happy playing alone and because you're busy doing something. So yeah, they have to learn that not everything's going to go their way and they can't have you at their beck and call all the time, okay? You got stuff to do, right? One of the, I don't remember where, but it was on a live. Someone wrote down, can we put you respect me on the behavior board? I said, you can, but good luck with that. Like, it would be like saying, it's just so too much. It would be like saying to someone who you just meet, you think I'm the greatest person on the planet. You're asking them to judge you according to something you haven't earned. You know, you got to earn that. It's like you have to like me, and that's the rule. You have to put me on a pedestal. That's the rule. And you've done nothing to earn it. That's what you're saying. It's illogical. Doesn't make any sense. In case you didn't know what illogical meant. Oh, by the way, someone came up to me today to say hi, which I always appreciate. I just want to tell you, if you're staring at me in public, and I know I see this all the time, people are, and I'm pretty sure it's because they recognize me from online, but most people don't come up to me. But they stare. They just stare at me like that. And so this is what I'm thinking. One of these two things. I'd rather you just come up and say hi to me, because if you don't, I'm thinking they either recognize me or I've got a booger hanging out of my nose. Okay. So I'd rather you come up to me, or else you know what I'm thinking, that I got this going on. So yeah. So, but it's funny. And they don't even try and hide it. They just, yeah, I'd rather you come up and say hi. I just want to say hi. I've seen you online. It's funny. Three-year-old gets jealous of, oh, sugar, I got to go soon. 3-year-old gets jealous of 2-year-old, being that they're so close in age. What can I do? You don't do one-on-one time with them. It builds resentment. Just do things that you can all do together, and it's not competitive, and it's just silly stuff. Like you're doing TikTok dances together or something. It helps them build a stronger bond. So, a lot of parents just say, you get along, but you got to play with them to show them how to get along. So yeah, don't do one-on-one time. Don't do, oh, I did one-on-one time with one time with the other. They don't care if it's 30 minutes exactly with each kid. It still builds resentment. So you can do that later on, but when you're trying to get them to have a better relationship, you do not do one-on-one time. Anyway, I'm hopping over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Check out my sale that's going on right now on my courses. It's all in the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and they're 10% off until Monday morning, my time, Vancouver, California time, 7 a.m. So it's the Father's Day special running right now. And someone pointed out that the coupon code is Father's Day 10. I couldn't figure out what 10 was because I can't think sideways. I don't do lateral thinking. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I'm the one in the movies who was always saying, oh, he was with them. Oh, I just never know what's going on. If it's not laid out in front of me, I don't get it. Maybe that's why I relate so well to toddlers, because I've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there too. Anyway, it's Father's Day 10 is the coupon code. The 10 is the 10% off. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to TikTok now. Happy parenting. Bye now. TikTok starts ads every time now. It's frustrating. There we go. Okay, so Tanya, I don't know how to pronounce that, said, so when you say, okay, time to go read a book and he doesn't listen, or time to go eat lunch and he doesn't go, or time to get in the car and he wants to run around, what's the best way to address? I'm just looking for the age here. I'm looking for the age. Three. Okay. Well, you pick them up and put them in the car. And you put down on the behavior board, come to the table within 5 minutes of being asked to do so. If you won't come to the table, put a timer on. If he doesn't, there's a consequence. It's all done with consequences. But if you have to get him in the car, pick him up and put him in the car. But other stuff, you just put down, come to the table. Whatever you want to fix, put on the behavior board. Use that behavior board. It's your crutch right now when you're learning how to do this. It's just a teaching tool. Like I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool. The reason I invented it is because it works. I haven't changed that behavior board in 16 years. And I've been teaching for 17. The first year was a bit rougher because I didn't have the behavior board, because you're on it too. That's what makes it work. Anyway, check that out. Okay, welcome to my live. I'm on TikTok now. And it's my last stop before, and then I've got a coaching client, and then I'm going to get to my emails tonight. Anyway, I've just had a busy day. What was I going to say? Oh, I forgot. All right. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. And if you look in the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you could look into coaching. With coaching, I have a wait list right now, but I will get to you eventually. Also, with all my courses, not coaching, just all my courses, I have a coupon code, and it is Father's Day 10% off until Monday morning at 7 a.m. So, yeah, someone on Instagram just told me, because I said, well, I don't do my own stuff. My daughter does all this stuff. So because she works with me, and it said Father's Day 10. I thought, what the heck is that 10 for? It's not on the 10th or anything. And then someone said, it's probably because it's 10% off. I can never figure stuff like that out. I just can't do it. My brain just doesn't go there. It's the weirdest thing. Always been like this. Okay. Any tips for a toddler kicking while changing diaper? Yeah, my kids, they all try that, right? Or they're kicking and they're rolling. My kids did the crocodile roll. But what I did is I knew that was a battle I was going to have to win, like right away. So as soon as they started doing that, I said, I'm going to be changing your nappy. A reason in Australia, it's a nappy diaper. Okay. It's a nappy over there. And I'd put my arm across their chest, and I would just change as fast as possible. So when I said something was going to happen, it was going to happen. Their dad, on the other hand, was more the pleaser parent. He didn't have as much experience with kids before we had our own, right? So, and usually there's a leader and a pleaser in the family anyway. And it works because the pleaser will defer to the leader as time goes on. Just say, well, let's check with mom, whatever. That's what you do. Or do you want me to tell mom? He used to threaten with me, and it worked beautifully. But he would negotiate. So they'd start squirming, and he'd say, okay, I'll let you down. You can pick a toy, and then you can have it. Well, I just get a cup of tea and lean in the doorway watching the show, because they didn't do that with me. Yeah, they learn very young who's in charge. Like if you just say, I'm changing your diaper, then you've got to make it happen. Once you say something, what they knew when mom said, we're going to go have a bath now, it was going to happen. They would never have argued. Like, what's the point? Because they knew it was going to happen. They learned that very, very young, that when I said something, it was happening, whether they liked it or not. You're going to brush your teeth now. It's going to happen, right? It can be a battle initially, but then they learn pretty quick that when you say something, it's going to happen. You got to follow through, though. Don't get into negotiations. Okay, how are you doing? Also, could you do a face squish, please? What? It's like some kind of weird fetishy thing? What does that mean? Sometimes I'll just read something out, and I've been doing this for a couple of years now on lives, and I would just read stuff out. And this is when you first go online, and I got a lot of followers right away. So of course you attract a lot of weird attention. So I'd get these weird things, and it was cryptic messages, and I was reading them out loud. And one time I was reading something out loud, but it looked cryptic, but when you put it all together, it was filthy rude. And I said it all out loud, and my daughter's texting me. She used to watch my lives when I first started doing them. And she said, Mom, stop, don't talk. I didn't know what I was saying. I found out later it was filthy. Okay. What about teens that want to go to friends' house and they're unsupervised drinking alcohol? Well, I'd never condone that. The closer you are with your teenager, the better relationship you have. That kind of stuff just doesn't come up. It just doesn't. Yeah, I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. You got to work on your relationship with your teen. It's everything. And when I'm working with parents who have teenagers, the behavior we don't even address for the first couple of sessions. We address the relationship. We got to strengthen your bond with your teen so that they respect you more. And yeah, but you got to give respect to get it. These are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. Okay. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. Say something like this: I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Reciprocity, right? You give respect to get it. And number 3, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say something like this: well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age, or what I did yesterday? And laugh it off. Okay. They're changing. They're exercising their independence. They're pulling away from you. And you can be friends with your teenagers for sure, but you also want them to not want to disappoint you. Like, you want them to respect you enough to think before they act, or to not do teenagers. They're my favorite age, but there's a lot to it. That's why it's just coaching right now. I don't know if I'll ever have a course on teenagers, because each client that I have with a teenager, I had 2 recently that were almost identical. 15-year-old boys, and the problems are almost identical. That's rare. It's usually very different, because it's all about the parent, and the parents, you're all such individuals. You have your own baggage. So it's dealing with the parents' baggage usually, and their emotions and their anger and their frustration. That's what coaching parents of teenagers is probably more about than the teenagers. Anyway. Okay, I've been addressing this kind of harshly lately, and I'm going to tell you why. How would you discipline a toddler you suspect has ADHD? ADHD is not a disability. You don't treat them any different from any other kid. They might just take a little bit more patience and time. But yeah, the ADHD is not a disability. Don't treat it that way. A lot of parents are just labeling, oh, well, he's got ADHD, as if you just wash your hands of their behavior. Don't treat them differently. Those are all the kids I worked with. I used to call them alphabet kids. And you know what was sad? Is they'd actually introduce themselves like this to me. Hi, I'm Johnny. I have ADHD and ODD and WXYZ, whatever. And I said, oh, I don't care about that. I'm Lisa. Here we go. Let's go. I used to call myself, I can never remember what it is. I used to say, I have FLS. I think that's what it wasn't quite that, but it was something like FLS. And they goes, what's FLS? I said, Foxy Lady Syndrome. So I'd make fun of it. Like, don't label your children. A lot of parents lean on that ADHD, so they absolve themselves of responsibility for their children's behavior. Those were all the kids I worked with. That's where I learned all this stuff. They're no different from other kids. They're just a little bit more hyperactive sometimes. They might have some attention deficit issues, but they react to the same stuff that any other kid does. It's not a disability. Autism would be more of a disability. Depends where on the spectrum they are. So. Two-year-old repeats same thing when I say no and explain it. Why are you explaining it? Yeah, that's the problem. The more you explain, the more they complain. Okay, so I want juice over and over again. Say no juice, that's it, and then walk away and just go about your business like you don't even hear them. Yeah, you're explaining yourself. With a toddler, you don't do that. You don't do that anyway. Once you say no, you don't need to explain it. If they're too young to understand why, they're not going to understand it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and they don't care about understanding it. They still want it. They don't care. And with an older child, they already understand anyway. Why are you explaining yourself? That was a good alarm. I like that one. Oh, I got to go. I've got a client. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I lost my screen here. Thanks so much for joining me. I have to go. I've got a client session right now. Anyway, thanks so much. Check out the link above. I've got a sale. It says I lost connection. Okay. Anyway, I've got a sale going on right now. It's my Father's Day special, 10% off all my courses. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board. Look into coaching. There's a wait list, and all my courses, toddler and the boot camp course, they're all 10% off, not coaching, just the courses. And it ends Monday morning at 7 a.m. my time, Vancouver, California time. And but yeah, 10% off all weekend. So it's Father's Day special. You probably knew that was coming because I had a Mother's Day special. So I can't eliminate the fathers. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'll be back again sometime tomorrow, probably. Anyway, happy parenting. Bye now.